Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope it shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. A new day dawns, once more the gift is given. Wonder fills this moment shared together. The light of peace it shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Open our eyes to see that life abounds. Open hearts to welcome it among us. The light of love it shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home.
Good morning and welcome to Live Oak Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm Reverend Joanna. I'm so glad that you could be here today, and happy Easter. I hope that today is a wonderful day of celebration and joy for you as we celebrate all the hope that we have and the rebirth of the earth and spring itself. If this is your first time joining us, then a special welcome is going out to you. After the service, you might want to go to our website. It's at liveoakuu.org. There's lots of information about our church there, and there's a place where you can sign up for our weekly email newsletter. And that's going to give you an idea about things that we're doing throughout the week. And some of those things you might be interested in joining us for. It is tradition in Unitarian Universalist congregations to light a chalice at the beginning of our services. So if you have a candle or a chalice near, draw it towards you as we all light our chalices together.
Happy Easter, Kieran, and everybody at Live Oak. Hey, little buddy, I'm glad I get to spend this Easter with you. It was really fun to watch you hunting eggs this morning. I remember when I was growing up, I loved getting all dressed up on Sunday morning. You know, my mom would usually make my sister and I matching dresses. We'd put them on and we'd have our Easter breakfast, and then we'd go hunt eggs before we went to church. This message this morning, Kieran, is especially for you, but it's also for all my friends at Live Oak. A little bit about Easter. I imagine at your preschool that you heard the story of Jesus' resurrection. That's a big word, isn't it? Christians all over the world believe that Easter time is a celebration of Jesus coming back to life after his death. That's what Easter in a Christian tradition is all about. But the celebration of rebirth isn't just for Christians. Long before Jesus lived, people of many cultures celebrated the renewal or the return of springtime. You see, in spring, what happens? The flowers bloom, the trees blossom. One story about spring is a very old Greek myth of Persephone and Demeter. Sometime I'll tell you that story, but not today. Another legend that's not quite as old is an Anglo-Saxon tale of the goddess Ostra, a goddess of spring, who is said to have turned a bird into a hare. Thus we have eggs delivered by a bunny. Part of my job here as a Unitarian Universalist religious educator is to help people find the stories that hold meaning for them, stories from many sources. It might be the stories of spring renewing, of flowers budding and baby animals being born and the seasons changing, stories in rhythm with nature. Other people might say that the story of Jesus' resurrection isn't about him actually coming back to life, but about the lessons that he taught living on in the hearts of his followers, that he was reborn in the hearts of those who believed the message that he had to share. I like to think that the early Christians and pagans viewed this time of year, the beginning of spring, as a joyful time, one full of hope and new beginnings. That's what Easter means for me. That and a good Cadbury cream egg. As you grow older, find your own meaning. Use the stories that are there and find what speaks to you. That's my greatest Easter wish for you. Love you, Oma.
I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. I think I can make it now, the pain is gone. And all of the bad feelings have disappeared. And here is the rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day.
Little darling, it's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Little darling, it feels like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say, it's all right. Happy Easter! Yes, it is all right to say that, and it is all right to feel that. Although I can understand if maybe you feel a little shy about using that H word, happy. After the long, cold winter that we've had, not just the winter of the pandemic of this past year, but really the last 5 years, it is easy to feel superstitious. It's easy to feel like if we allow ourselves to feel happy that we're going to get hit upside the head with life again, because really that's what it's been like. Starting in 2016, we had so many times of going through something that we just couldn't believe was happening, and yet here it happened. Bad, impossible things over and over. You'd get up in the morning and there would be something else happening. We learned to live in a state of anxiety and then cap it all off with something that no one whom we know has gone through, a global pandemic. And it can be understandable that perhaps we feel a little bit reticent about the good feelings that we're starting to have. So if you perhaps need permission, hey baby, I'm giving it to you. With all of my authority, what there is of it as a religious leader, I am giving you permission to be happy. It's all right. Superstition. Ooh, superstition can creep in among even the most reasonable of us. And, you know, I'm fine with kind of the fun superstitions, but the negative superstitions, the superstitions that tell you that if you start to feel some joy, that somehow is going to bring something bad upon yourself, those are superstitions we need to get rid of. From my life experience, you know, I look at it a little bit different. For me, I say, you're right, we don't know what is coming in the future, and so if we get the opportunity to authentically feel happy, then we should grab a hold of that with both hands and hold on to it as long as we can. And here we are, Easter of 2021. Easter of last year was where we were just starting, I think, to realize the new reality and starting to realize that we really had no idea how long it was going to last. It was hard to find hope a year ago, and so very easy to find fear. Now, fear in its rightful place and with an appropriate weight can be helpful. You know, even right now, it's true, there are still a lot of unknowns, and so if we have a little bit of fear that enables us to live according to the best scientific guidelines that we can get right now, then it's okay to allow that much. The problem is when we allow fear to keep us from seeing possibilities. I love the story of the whole Easter week. Like, whether you believed it happened or not, it's a great story. And especially when we have stories that have been retold for thousands of years, you know, whether they were written by Chaucer or Shakespeare or Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, it's still worth it to look closer to those stories, because by their very repeatability, they tell us something about what it means to be human. This year, I've been thinking about Saturday, Holy Saturday as they call it, but not what we're told about in the Apocrypha. What that Saturday, according to the story, might have actually looked like from the perspective of the apostles and the people who loved Jesus. The Gospels tell us barely anything about it, unlike the rest of Holy Week, right? Like, you have the previous Sunday, Palm Sunday, a day of triumph and hosannas and people cheering for the rabbi and his messages about love and justice. Then later on during the week, you have Thursday, right, with the bread and the wine and the washing the feet and giving a hint of what is to come and asking to be remembered. And then you have the heartbreak, the injustice of Friday, of Good Friday, when the great rabbi was executed by the state. But Saturday is a bit of an enigma. And so it is left to our imaginations to try and think about what it might have been like. Those left behind, those who had loved and followed Jesus, they didn't know the story that most of us are familiar with. And so they were left with despair, and they were left with the emptiness of not knowing what the future was going to look like, not knowing what they were supposed to do. And it kind of feels like this is where we are, or have been for the last few months. We had something terrible happen this past year. Hundreds of thousands of people who died because of it. Practically all of our lives upended in very dramatic ways. For so many months, we didn't know when things were going to change. We didn't know what it was even realistic to have hopes about. But Easter is here. And now we know what we can have hope about. So many of us are getting those vaccines put in our arms. There is a schedule for how it will be rolled out, at least for all of the rest of the adults, but there are tests going on right now, even for our children. We can start thinking about next September, which to me, growing up in the United States, that always feels like the real new year to me anyway. We can start dreaming about what it can look like. And similarly to those apostles, we have learned so much these past few years. And so we can start thinking about how we are going to shape what is to come. On Easter morning, so the story goes, it was the women who were closest to Jesus who went to his tomb and found it empty. And whatever you believe, metaphor or real, what that did, what the empty tomb did, was it gave the empty space for them to begin imagining what the future was going to look like and to make their decisions about how the story would continue. And that's exactly what they did. They responded with resistance to the idea that the story had ended and resistance to death itself. And they created, the apostles, the women, they created a new future where they were going to take all that they had learned, where they were going to take the vision of their great leader into the future. And they hoped that they would teach it to people who would then teach it to other people. And here we are thousands of years later. And Easter has become a celebration both to those practicing Christians who see it as the pinnacle of their faith, for those of us who take it more metaphorically, and for those of us who go back even further to the metaphor that spring gives us about resurrection and the rebirth of life itself. Easter and the spring equinox are a time for celebrating miracles. There are some people whose definition of miracle, they keep it so narrow that they will never know a miracle in their lifetime. Me, I see miracles everywhere. To me, miracles are when something that had seemed good but unbelievable, too much to hope for, when they actually can happen. And so I see ordinary and immense miracles this Easter. This church, the fact that during this year when we have not been able to gather in person and yet we have stayed connected, there has not been a single Sunday in which we did not gather as a congregation. Even like last summer when there was this Zoom outage all over the globe, we still found a way, gathering through some sort of Facebook group, because it was important for us to have some time every week where we would come together again as a community. For years, I've often opened up our services by talking about how we are gathered together to strengthen our souls and we are sent out to strengthen the world. And we have been strengthening our souls this past year to get through this the best way we knew how. And now we have the very real glimpse and hope that we can go out into the world and work to strengthen it as well. And let's not discount why that is. This vaccine is a miracle that happened, as so many miracles do, through human hands and human minds and human ingenuity, humans working together. And now we are getting all of those shots into arms. The government is helping us do this, but so often, day after day, I see you, all of us, and we are making phone calls for people, and we're trying to figure out a rather disorganized system so that everyone can be safe from this deadly global virus. Out of suffering, a miracle can come, and we should celebrate every miracle that comes our way. It is Easter of 2021, and we are seeing miracles. We are seeing resurrection happen right in front of us. We are seeing, after a literal, cold, unimaginable winter, we are seeing life come back, plants come into bloom. The bees are now feasting on nectar from flowers rather than sugar water that we put out in dishes. Democracy. I think that we are seeing democracy be restored after an unimaginable attack upon it. And the flip side of seeing all of the bad, impossible things that we have seen over the past year is that hopefully it will open up our imaginations to see what seems like impossible things that are good and right and full of justice and equity. Like the apostles faced with an empty tomb, we can look forward at what is, to a certain extent, a blank slate and make some decisions about how we want to be in the world and what is the world that we want to imagine creating. And don't get so busy in planning for tomorrow that you don't stop and celebrate today. Celebrate Easter, celebrate the vaccines, celebrate democracy, celebrate all of the hard difficult lessons that we have learned over the past 5 years, because we're going to make that pain count for something. We're going to let it stir us to creating a world with more equity. We're going to let it power us so that we can create that world of beloved community that we have talked about for thousands of years. See the miracles around us. Let them empower you to imagine other miracles that we can make come true. And know this, know that you are a miracle, and everything that you have done this past year and the past 5 years to make it to this point, to keep going, to keep loving, you are a miracle. I celebrate you. Sun, 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 here it comes. Happy Easter.
the greeting flows from eye to eye, the signals run from heart to heart, the bright heart glows, the seekers of the light are one. One in the freedom of the truth, one in the joy of paths untrod, one in the soul's perennial youth, one in the larger thought of God. The freer step, the fuller breath, the wide horizon's grander view, the sense of life that knows no death, a life that maketh all things new.
May we shine a light of love. May we shine a light of love. With every thought, with every step we take, may we shine a light of love.
Thank you for joining us this morning, and a very special thank you to everyone, the musicians, the producers, everyone who helped make this service happen. If this was your first time joining us, I invite you again to go to liveoakuu.org, and you're going to find a link on there that says Just for Visitors. If you click on it, then right now it's going to take you to a Zoom room. There will be a couple of members who are in there, and it's kind of like an online visitors table where you can ask them any questions you might have. May you go forward this week celebrating all of the good stuff that you see, even the little things, appreciating the miracles that are all around, being happy when you feel like being happy, and knowing that you too are a miracle. Happy Easter.
Soon the day will arise when we will be together, and no longer will we live in fear. And the children will smile without wondering whether on that day thunder clouds will appear. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see.